And to make the case worse for me, while he was driving out, the water that gathered under his tire, he sped off, and the whole mud water came upon my body. And that is how I disliked all the enjoyment I was enjoying in an NNPC. Good evening, viewers. My name is Roland Mr Abonta. I'm an estate surveyor and valuer by profession. I'm delighted to welcome you back to my video this evening, and I would like to share some stories of my life in this particular video. In the last episode, I talked about my experience in secondary school and the work experience I had, and how I got job in NNPC as a transport clerk. Well, at NNPC, I was given appointments through divine providence as a transport clerk and worked in the transport department. There were special things that happened during my time of engagement, my short period of work in an NNPC. First was that on my first day of work as task clerk, a transport clerk, responsible for fueling about 200 fleets of vehicles belonging to NNPC Moscow Road, Port Harcourt. And so I reported to duty and had a trailer or a tanker, as it were, bring fuel to the depot. And when the driver came in, he tried to be familiar with me and asked me questions whether I am now the new clerk in charge of the depot. I said yes. And then I was surprised that he gave a gift to me that was much more than my real monthly salary on that first time of meeting me. But before then, I have been inducted and told that the compartments in the tanker that they bring to release to us must be seen to be empty before the driver will drive off from the compound. So when he made that gift, I never suspected there was anything going to happen. But it surprised me that out of 6 compartments, he discharged 5 and started rolling his hose to drive off from the compound. And I observed, because each time I was climbing up to check the level of discharge he was doing, I observed that one was still remaining. In fact, he had not opened it from beginning. So I said, sorry sir, there is still a compartment you need to release. And that's when the question came, did the boy at the depot before not tell you how this thing is done? I said, well, I didn't meet anybody. I was engaged. Much later, I realized that the boy that was there was sacked. So as I was engaged and brought here and told my duty, and that's what I want to do. So the man ignored me because he was already used to the terrain, and he was not ready to start talking. He just rolled his thing, put it back, and then went and kicked his motor. So I thought, what do I do? Shout? Stop him? What do I do? I was there confused, and he started driving. smart idea came to my head. Thank God there are security men at the gates. And I was also told that security men will check every vehicle passing. I said, this vehicle, they will check him and they will catch him. And then they will come back to me and I'll meet them and say, look, this man refused to discharge one. But he did something at the gate. He brought out, as he was getting close to gate, he brought out his left hand from his steering and greeted the people at the gate. And the gate was thrown ajar and he drove out of the compound with one full compartment of fuel. I felt I was stupid, I was foolish. Maybe I should have raised the alarm, shouted, or go to my supervisor to complain. And I'm new at work. So he left. And so my worry was, if the fuel does not cover the period it ought to cover, how will I defend it? And I know I engaged him when the fuel was going down. I later went to his refinery depot. I said, that thing you did, now the fuel is finishing. What do you want me to do? The man introduced me to another level of corruption. He told me, are you foolish? You have the logbook for all the vehicles. Post the fuel on them. That's what the former person there does. And that your boss will not even bother to start calculating quantity of fuel. Fearfully, I came back and I did that. And just like he predicted, when I presented the paper to my boss, he was standing, answering radio message and signed up for me, giving me authority to go and get another fuel from the refinery. This is how I came in contact and face to face with corruption that is prevalent in our nation. I just want to say that it didn't start today. But one thing with me is that I have always had a check in my spirit. The time we are talking about, I wasn't a born-again Christian, but I knew that something was fundamentally wrong. So subsequent other drivers that came, I resisted. And of course, they discharged their fuel. But the first one, I was compelled to post the quantity of fuel for me to get my officer to sign for me, which he did carelessly without looking at the documents. That was Mr Abonta, who was my supervising officer for transport. He was in charge of air, water and land transport. That was one of the experiences I had in NNPC as a transport clerk. The second one was that a young youth corper was posted to NNPC, and in those days, particularly petroleum engineers, when they arrive, they give them brand new Beetle cars. Each time in an NNPC compound, you will see one corner where cars were parked of all types. And so when this youth corper came in, he was given a Beetle car. And of course, my duty was to fuel the car. And he drove to the fuel dump. And I did pump the fuel with the manual pumping and then discharging his vehicle until it got filled. But in this process of pumping and discharging, those who know Port Harcourt very well, the rain came heavily. All the while, the corper, who was not more than 3 years older than me, was sitting at his steering. I was the one outside. So you can imagine that the rain poured on me. And to make the case worse for me, while he was driving out, the water that gathered under his tire, he sped off and the whole mud water came upon my body. And that is how I disliked all the enjoyment I was enjoying in an NNPC. And there was a question in my mind, paramount, that what will I do to become like this boy that I served fuel, so that somebody else will serve me fuel. And I began to make inquiries on what to do to further my education. Viewers, I will want to round up at this point and tell you how I got admission and how God took care of me without anybody ready to sponsor me for my education. Of course, my parents had already sent me out to go and work. For me to be planning to go to school was my own business. It wasn't their business. We will hear more in the next video. Thank you and God bless you.
Viewers, in that pool of clerks at NNPC, on the day that water was splashed on Mr Abonta, other people were cursing the Corper, but somebody's destiny was being molded by an invisible hand. That discontent, where do you think it came from? Of course, the discontent led him to seeking admission at the University of Science and Technology in Port Harcourt. The rest of it is history. He got his degree, went to do youth service in Mina. How is it that he came early enough for the general manager to notice him? Invisible hand, controlling and leading and guiding. That relationship produced that comfortable life. He began to make money even as a Corper. But it's okay. He will tell you what happened. But you, do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Forward these video clips to your friends. Let them hear that God is still doing miracles in the lives of people. Abonta is going to tell you more about his life. Thank you for tuning in today, and God bless you.